Welcome to the latest episode of our podcast series for financial advisors. Today's episode is Why AI Matters Now, Filling the Estate Planning Gap with Wealth.com. It's a conversation with Rafael Loureiro, the firm's co-founder and chief executive officer. I'm Louis Diamond, and this is the Diamond Podcast for Financial Advisors.
At Diamond Consultants, we help elite advisors identify the right environment for their businesses to thrive, whether that's at a wirehouse, boutique, or independent firm. With nearly 3 decades of experience, we've guided thousands of advisors and represented more than $250 billion in assets transitioned. And each year, 1 in 4 advisors managing $1 billion or more who change firms are our clients. Our process is education-driven and based on building relationships, starting as your strategic partner well before you're even thinking of a move. To schedule a confidential conversation, call us at 908-879-1002. Wondering why advisors change firms and where they're headed? Are transition deals going up or down? Those very questions and more inspired us to create our annual Advisor Transition Report. It's the award-winning, data-driven resource designed for advisors that connects the dots between the motivations around movement and the firm's appetite for top talent. Arm yourself with the knowledge you need to make smart decisions. Download your copy at diamond-consultants.com/transition report.
In the wealth management world, estate planning has largely lived in a separate lane. It's a topic advisors may raise with clients, then hand off to an attorney, and eventually a set of documents come back, filed away, rarely revisited, and often disconnected from the rest of the planning process. That structure has been in place for a long time, and for the most part, it's gone unquestioned. But when you step back, it creates a gap between what clients expect from their advisor and what actually gets delivered when it comes to estate planning. Rafael Loureiro, co-founder and CEO of Wealth.com, ran straight into the gap after a planning event of his own. What should have been a coordinated process felt fragmented, manual, and surprisingly opaque. And likewise, I recall the same type of disjointed experience in my own estate planning process. It's experiences like these that became the starting point for building Wealth.com. What makes this story interesting isn't just that they're using AI, but how they're using it inside the estate planning process. And it's how AI allows the model itself to change. From a one-time legal event to something that evolves alongside the client, from static documents to a system that can actually interpret, update, and surface what matters, from a disconnected handoff to something the advisor can actively lead. In my conversation with Rafael, we get into how that plays out in practice, how tools like Esther move from summarizing estate documents to identifying gaps, to prompting next steps and eventually preparing action on behalf of the advisor. Because when AI moves from simply organizing information to helping drive decisions, estate planning stops being a periodic task and starts to look more like a continuous part of the advice process. So let's dive in. Rafael, thank you for coming on our show today.
My pleasure, Luis. Thank you for having me here.
Of course. Let's jump in. And in researching you and speaking to you in the past, I got to admit, you had a very different path into the wealth management industry, probably than anyone I've ever interviewed. So can you walk us through your background briefly and early professional endeavors?
Absolutely. The accent that you hear is Brazilian. So I've been in the US for 25 years. I'm a software engineer by trade, came in as a H1B, been involved with different companies over the years. And then most recently, before Wealth.com, I was a chief technology officer with a fraud prevention company. Nothing to do with wealth management, but by selling that company, it's how the Wealth.com story started.
Perfect. And I was referring to also some of your early career endeavors, even before founding your last company, if you're comfortable sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been involved with 4 different startups in different spaces. One of them was in, if you remember all the way back to 2008, the real estate crisis, the first startup with foreclosures, right? So when houses went to foreclosures, me and my partner, we created a system to index that. I also had work on a photo album company. It became a lifetime business. It's still running, right? I was the CTO. And I did my share of consulting. I used to work for Accenture, Avanade, and then a home builder for 2,500 companies. So I have a ton of experience in the technology space before wealth.com.
Perfect. And you mentioned the last business that you started that I believe sold to LexisNexis. Can you walk through what that business was?
Yeah. Yeah. So I did not start the business. I joined the business before Series A. The person that started the business, Ray Carvalho, he's actually Wealth.com chairman, right? So the team is still together. The US, San Francisco, New York, offices in Sydney, Singapore, London. We serve clients like Coinbase, grew very fast, and then got acquired by LexisNexis in 2020 during peak COVID. Think about we literally signed the documents, popped the champagne on March 2020. No
Oh my
vaccine.
God.
We literally popped the champagne and we all went back home to work from home because that was the guidance from LexisNexis. Through that experience, selling a company, one thing you usually do, it's a big liquidity event. And estate planning is always related to big moments. You get married, someone in your family die,
Yeah.
you have a new kid, you have a liquidity event, right? So I work with a financial advisor. They're amazing, right? They help me with financial planning, wealth management, saving a lot of money, insurance. But when it was time to do the estate planning, Luis, my experience was, hey, Rafael, we always work with this lawyer, go talk to the lawyer. And then it was a completely broken process. First, because it was COVID and I had to go see the lawyer face to face. That was weird right there. Second, because I was expecting the lawyer to know everything about me. Because my advisor knows everything about me, right? Know about my life situation, know about liquidity event, know about my kids, rental houses, everything. And then the engineer. I know what I told the lawyer, but do I know for sure that everything I told the lawyer ended up in the document? No, I don't. Long story short, otherwise it is a long story. We're having a virtual coffee, right? I don't know if you remember everyone, big beard, long hair, right? Everyone working from home. And then somehow all the email age, C-level team and founders and co-founders, we start complaining about estate planning, right? I'll give you another example. My chairman, the one that Wealth.com chairman, email age CEO, Ray Carvalho, he was like, hey, Rafael, I'm done with the summer heat in Arizona. I'm moving to Denver. I'm going for cooler weathers. Literally, the moment he moved to Denver, he gets a call from his estate planning lawyer, welcome him to Denver and saying, hey, we need to update your documents. But I just spent thousands of dollars creating my documents. Yeah, but you live in a new state, right? You have to optimize your documents. At that moment, Louis, we're like, where there's a problem, there is an opportunity. And the company was born.
I find the best company origin stories, it's you have that. You have a personal experience or a moment where you have a realization that there's a problem that you have that others might have as well. So let's create a business around solving this problem. It was legitimately at that point. It wasn't a long burn. We're going to research. We're really going to think about this. It was just all of the core team that was fortunate enough to have a big liquidity event. Were complaining and commiserating about a similar problem on estate planning. And then that launched into let's build a company, let's build a platform, a product to solve this problem.
Yes and no. We saw the opportunity. We had just finished selling a company. It takes a lot from you and your family to create a company and to sell a company. Before we start a new company, we said, hey, look, we feel like there is something here, right? But let's do the proper groundwork, make sure that the market is right, that there is a need. That's not only us complaining about these, right? I'm going to say that we spent a good 3 months putting a vision document together, doing a market research, and then we got excited. Literally, my wife was not super excited in the beginning. She's, you guys just sold a company. You've been racing 100 miles an hour for the last 7, 8 years, and you guys are going to do this again. But, I love it. It's part of my DNA. I love the challenge. I love to build. And it is a big problem. When you look at the US market, 67% of the population don't have estate planning. You have to ask yourself, why? Is that because it costs too much money? Is that because people don't know enough about estate planning that they don't do it? Is that because people don't like to think about death? So the opportunity is there, right? We did the groundwork. We got the team together, at least some of our 8 players. We went to Entus Capital. That's the same venture firm that led the Emailage Series B. And we said, look, we have a vision, we have a team, and we believe the market is ready for it. There is no dominant player, and it is blue ocean. And then they gave us the initial funding, them and my chairman. And then we went from having an idea to launch the product in May 2022.
Wow, that's amazing. Before we dive into the rapid growth and what the platform looks like, et cetera, can you just give us a quick overview of what wealth.com looks like today? Who are you serving? Who are you selling to? And where does it fit into an advisor's value proposition or their advice stack, if you will?
Absolutely. So wealth.com, we empower financial advisors to provide a family office experience to their clients, starting with estate planning and tax planning. What I'm trying to solve, Luis, is like my situation. I want my financial advisor to be the hub of my needs, right? So if the needs is financial planning, wealth management, insurance, estate planning, tax planning, I need my financial advisor to be aware of all these verticals, right? Because I know if something happens to one of us, my financial advisor is my person. He or she's gonna get my call from my wife and say, hey, am I all right? I want to empower the financial advisor with all the tools to provide that family office experience to their client. So that's first. When we started by providing document creation. So think of this. You are mass affluent client between $500,000 all the way to $10 million. You don't have your revocable trust, your will, your power of attorney, your advanced healthcare directive, your guardianship documents. We do that. We create those documents. You go to the workflow on the wealth.com platform. If you have an advisor, I need to make that clear. We're not direct to consumer business. You have to have an advisor, right? So you go to that workflow, and at the end of the workflow, you get the documents. Those are legally optimized, all the documents. The document you get in California is going to be completely different from the document you get in New York, from the document you get in Florida. I just want to make that point clear. What we notice, Luis, work with these advisors is, if you look at the average advisor, right? If you look at his or her book of business, 80% is mass affluent, right? So think lawyers, doctors, firemen. 20% high net worth. Usually the high net worth clients, ultra high net worth clients, they already have the documents. They already paid $20,000 to have those documents draft. And we were not doing anything for them. So in 2022, we had that light bulb moment, even before LLMs. OpenAI launched in 2022. We actually used like the BERTA model before OpenAI, but I know I'm digressing. Let me get back here. So I was not doing anything for these high net worth, ultra high net worth clients. So we had this idea, what if we use AI to read their existing plans, all their GRATs, SLATs, all these sophisticated irrevocable trust, connect to all their assets, and then provide a summary of everything they have in place. So that was the idea in 2022. Can we do it? And we did it. And that became Esther, and that became our family office experience. So just to summarize, we help the advisor clients, regardless where they fall in the wealthy spectrum. If they don't have the estate planning documents, we create them. If they already have the estate planning documents, we use AI to read these documents, summarize them, and provide insights and observations. Hey, here are ways that you can optimize these documents. That's what we do.
It's so valuable. I wish I met you a month ago because I went through a very expensive estate planning exercise with an estate planning attorney. And my own personal experience is exactly the same that you had. It's expensive. I have no idea what I was signing. There was a long questionnaire, and it wasn't driven necessarily but by my advisor. They gave me the idea to get updated estate plans, but it was a disconnected process. So this makes a ton of sense. I think let's pull on the thread of being a direct to advisor company rather than trying to pull an end around the advisor and going directly to a consumer. Well, why was that an important design decision for you? Because I would assume the total addressable market might be a little bit bigger if you're going direct to a retail client that may or may not have an advisor versus going directly to a business, an RIA, a wealth management firm, et cetera.
Yeah. What we notice working with in this space is something triggers you to do your estate planning. I'm not going to ask why you decide to do yours now, but usually is related to death in the family, right? A kid going to college, you buy a new house, you have a new baby, you're getting married, you get divorced. Direct to consumer, you have to find the client at that moment for them to consider estate planning as an important thing to do, right? There's actually surveys. I think Fidelity put a survey out that says family is the main reason why people do estate planning. And the second reason is the advisor, right? So if you work with a financial advisor, most likely he or she's going to make you do your estate planning. So we did not want to be on the direct-to-consumer place, spending millions and millions of dollars in marketing. We'd rather spend millions and millions of dollars in AI and technology and serve the advisor and empower the advisor to have this conversation and go to you and say, hey, Luis, how is it possible that you don't have your estate plan document? Let's do this now. And I know this is uncomfortable. There is another survey that came out recently saying that some of the advisors don't want to talk about that. It's still like a hard subject to approach, but we have to have this conversation.
I'd say it almost sounds like an advisor not wanting to talk about their fees, right? Let's not talk about that because it's uncomfortable and no one wants to hear about it.
But you have to have it because there's so a huge lack of education. For example, one thing that we come across all the time, and I know is minor, is like kids going to college. Oh yeah, my daughter's going to college. I don't have to do anything. Yeah, you do. She needs an advanced healthcare directive. Because if you don't have one and something happens to her, you cannot just go to the hospital and ask for information. They won't give it to you. We need to educate our clients. We need to do a better job. And I think advisors play that role and we want to empower them to talk about estate planning and tax planning.
It makes sense. It's a brilliant strategy because instead of advisors selling against wealth.com as like, I can do better and I have a estate planning guy I can refer you to, it's you're working alongside them and you rely upon the advisor to provide the education to be the trigger moment. And I know, again, from personal experience, if my advisor didn't suggest that I should update my estate planning documents because I moved states, I wouldn't have done it. It's not like a fun thing to do. It's an expense, et cetera. So that makes a ton of sense. You're partnering with the hub or the influencers, if you will, of who's driving estate planning in this country. It's a great strategy.
And you said something very important, and I want to highlight. The world is very different after COVID. Before COVID, some of these advisors, all their clients were like in the same city, right? I had one estate planning lawyer to help my clients, right? But now, after COVID or during COVID, people moved. Oh, yeah, I'm now living a farm. Oh, I moved to Montana. Montana is beautiful. I saw Landman or Yellowstone. Now I'm living in Montana, right? Landman is Texas. How? Now you don't have a estate planning lawyer in Texas. You don't have a estate planning lawyer in Montana. With the right partnership with wealth.com, now you can serve all your clients regardless where they are in the US because we are present in every jurisdiction and we have lawyers in every jurisdiction. So we empower you to serve clients regardless where they are in the US.
Very cool. And how about the pricing model? You don't have to say what it costs, but is it one license that a firm is buying on behalf of their entire client base? Or is there an incremental cost for each client? And I'm throwing a lot at you. And then third part of the question is, are you seeing advisors charge directly for the wealth.com estate planning output? Or are folks wrapping it into their fee as just a value-added service as part of their planning and comprehensive wealth management process?
Very good question. Our goal has always been, we want to make estate planning available, democratize estate planning, make it even more accessible to the population. So the way we charge is we charge the advisor an annual recurring fee. We do not charge per document. I want you to provide estate planning to all your clients, right? That's our goal. I don't want you to think, oh, but that's going to cost me money. No, get all your clients, set them all up with estate planning, right? Are they charging? It depends. So the way I'm going to say this is, I'm going to say that 60% of my advisors are charging, not for the documents because they're not lawyers. They're charging to help educate you on estate planning, right? You, as a client, you have to go to the process yourself to get the documents, right? So that's where an advisor would send an invitation to wealth.com. You and your wife or your partner, you're going to go to the workflow and you're going to get the document at the end. But the advisor is going to set up a call with you. The advisor is going to help you collect the documents. The advisor is going to educate you why estate planning is important. And some of them are charging for these. Some of our advisors, more on the high net worth, ultra high net worth space, they already charge a very good fee to provide you service. So they probably provide Esther as Esther output, I should say, as a value-added service. It depends on the use case.
Makes sense. So I've heard you talk in interviews about a major gap in estate planning between client expectations and what a client is expecting, hoping to get with estate planning, especially when it comes to interacting with their financial advisor and what is actually fundamentally delivered by advisors. So I'm curious, like, Why is there a gap? And why do you think that gap has existed for so long? Is it as simple as people don't like talking about death and it's expensive, or is there a deeper answer?
I think it's all of the above, and your experience is amazing. You are the typical client, right? You took long to do it. It cost you a lot of money. You're like, next time you have to do an update, you're going to wait 5 to 10 years to do it because you spend thousands of dollars to get it updated. Why does it have to be like that? And now with AI, and that's what I think is going to change a lot in the next five years, is why can we not have continuous estate planning? What I mean by that is work with your advisor. I have connection to all your assets, right? I have connection to CRM. I have connection to your bank account. If you give me access, I don't need password, but we can actually connect all your assets. I have connection to the portfolio management platform. So as you live your life, as you get married, as you buy a property, you finally decide to buy a property in Tahoe. I get these pings, and then I can empower your advisor to say, hey, go talk to Louis and say, hey, it's time to update your estate plan or a rental property outside your home state in California. You need to update it. Or he has just crossed a tax threshold, or he just got married, or he just had a new beneficiary. My goal is to empower the financial advisor to provide more and more value to this relationship. I'm not trying to replace the financial advisor, but I'm trying to empower him or her to give you more value, so him or her becomes more critical for your relationship. Why people haven't done estate planning, I think, is a lack of education. Is the fear of the cost. Oh, I have to talk to a lawyer. Oh my gosh, that's going to cost me $5,000, right? I want to make this easier. I want to make this simple. I want to empower the advisor to demystify estate planning and tax planning, make it more accessible, bring the estate planning more to the middle. What I mean by that is, why is estate planning exclusive to the high net worth, ultra high net worth? Because in that space, 90% of the people have estate plan. 90% of the people. It's the fear of the cost, I think. And then people don't want to think about that.
Yep. I think that's exactly right. Yeah. It very much sounds like it's a win-win, right? It's like a next best action type event where you're giving an advisor on a silver platter a way to add value, which is what I think every advisor wants to do. And then it's a massive value add to the end client. My guess is you don't have much friction in delivering those sorts of insights to advisors that they can then deliver to their clients.
I would say if you're not doing it, there's a big risk you're going to lose your clients to people that are doing it and they are providing the family office experience. Yeah.
Yep. What about the competitive landscape for wealth.com, whether it's other fintechs that are attempting to do something in the space, or even just the legacy advisor, the estate planning attorney in town, or an advisor's preferred T&E attorney? How do you think about the competitive landscape in the trust and estate world today?
There are competitors from day zero when we came in. There were competitors. I don't see an incumbent. I think now we became the incumbent, right? I think there is a segment of the market, just to paint a picture, like 1/3 of the advisors are going to retire in the next 10 years, right? So there is a segment in the market where, to your point, they already work with a estate planning lawyer. That's not a bad thing, right? They're like, hey, oh yeah, I get leads from this lawyer. My clients are all located in my neighborhood. I don't need to provide out of state estate planning, right? That we're not going to get there. But at the same time, if you look at our growth, we've been growing. And that's why we just raised a Series B. The growth is out there to prove it. We've been like tripling the company size every year. There's a need. There's a demand. Financial advisors are waking up. They are in a very competitive market. They need to provide more to the clients because I feel like investment management, it is becoming table stakes, right? Financial planning, it is table stakes. So what else can I offer my clients? And that's why you see some advisory firms offering bill pay. I file your taxes. I'll get your estate planning done. You got to differentiate yourself. We're seeing the need. If you look at our penetration, we have now 2,000 firms on the platform. And the firms go from independent, the small SMB advisor with 1 or 2 advisors in the office, all the way to the top 3 out of the top 5 banks in the US. We're there, right?
Wow. It's interesting. Let's talk about that. So on the bank side, it's typically not a segment that is ripe for technological disruption or external tools like this to come in and make a dent. How are banks and very large platforms thinking about wealth.com? Is it a similar kind of buying journey or decision that an individual RIA or an individual advisor would make, or is it a little bit different?
It's a little bit different. So without mentioning names, These banks, I work with some of these banks, I work with high net worth, ultra high net worth clients. They were providing this summary report that Esther put together. They were before Esther, but it was taking them 30 to 50 hours, all human labor to put one together, Excel, Visio, PowerPoint, 30 to 50 hours. Even to these very expensive, very wealthy clients, right? They were only doing once a year. Hey, here's your report. Oh yeah, but I just sold that house in St. Parts. Can I get a new update? No. Next year, you're going to get the update. I'm not even kidding, right? It was serious. So they were doing the work, but it was all labor intensive. Now with wealth, the same a much better output, I should say. It's take minutes, right? And instead of only reserving these to the very, very wealthy clients, now they can go downstream and offer this to their mass affluent clients and then high net worth clients, right? They're all seeing the need. They're all waking up because they were doing the work, but it was all labor intensive, all manual before, and they want to automate.
Very interesting. I definitely want to spend some time talking about Esther. You mentioned it a few times, but before that, I'd say two very real strategic areas that a firm might take on when it comes to estate planning. The first one is a lot of very successful advisors, they cultivate amazing COI referral relationships with attorneys. And usually the attorneys are T&E attorneys for obvious reasons. Have you gotten pushback or have you seen that because of wealth.com, these advisors now are referring less business to these high-powered trust and estates attorneys, and then they're not able to grow their business as much in return? That's one question, if you can weigh in.
I have not heard that. And just to clarify, I think with wealth, having wealth as part of your tool framework, you're going to be able to serve more clients and still leverage your trust estate attorney. And I explain how. For example, we know how to stay our lane, right? So let's say you go into the workflow, and as part of the workflow, you say, hey, I have a special needs child. At that moment, we say, stop. Let me put you in touch with a lawyer. You can decide to use your own lawyer, or you can use one in our network, right? We have lawyers in every jurisdiction, but it's up to you, right? We focus on the revocable trusts and the wills. If your client requires something more sophisticated, you can still use wealth.com to map out the client situation using Esther, right? You're going to be able to see everything they have in place at that moment, and then use your relationship, your trust and estate lawyer, to make the document update. So I think what we're doing is like reserving the most complex case for the trust and estate lawyer if the document needs to update. But I don't think you are breaking that relationship. That relationship will stay there, and you're still going to have that lead exchange. But I don't have any numbers to answer your question. Yeah,
I think that makes sense. It's like it's not like with wealth.com, at least not yet. It's not like there isn't a role for a T&E attorney. And especially for more complex, esoteric type situations, an advisor could still refer some of their relationships to a T&E attorney, but they'll come armed with better information. And also with more clients getting involved with estate planning, there's also conceivably more opportunities that they can refer out to an estate planning attorney in turn.
Better answer than you did a much better job than I did. Exactly what you said. The difference is now your advisor, your clients are going to be much better informed. They know exactly what they need from the lawyer, right? So yeah, 100%.
Perfect. And then the other one, which is, I'd say less commonplace, but it's a trend. The trend, and you hit on it, that as investments are becoming commoditized or not as differentiated, advisors are being called on to offer more and more services, whether it's tax preparation in-house or bill pay or picking up clients' dry cleaning, et cetera. But I think the big area that I've seen firms invest in is an in-house trust and estate attorney. Do you think wealth.com is taking some of the sizzle out of that in-house service? Or is it just different? Is it two different use cases?
It's two different use cases, and we actually sell to that use case. Where if you have your trust estate attorneys in-house, we actually leverage them and they become users on the platform. Going back to my previous answer, now with wealth.com, you're going to be able to serve more clients with estate planning, right? You can actually route some of the use cases back to your trust estate team through wealth.com. They do whatever they have to do, and then you're able to serve more clients. An example, trust and estate lawyers, they had to read the documents before wealth.com, right? They would spend countless hours reading 100-page documents. Now with Esther, we do the summarization. We show your trust estate team where all the information was extracted. So instead of reading one document per hour, you're going to be able to read 3 documents per hour and visualize the client state plan and be able to optimize it, right? Because we provide insights and suggestions, and then the trust and estate lawyer can provide their own, right? And say, hey, no, I agree with this one, or I think we should also do this, right? I think you're going to optimize the use of your trust estate team. You're not going to get rid of them. No.
It's more so you're automating the high value differentiated work. It also kind of sounds like, I don't know when like e-money or Money Guide Pro came into the mainstream, but it's almost a difference between a paraplanner for a firm, like manually creating pie charts in Excel and PowerPoint and analyzing a bunch of stuff. And then e-money and Money Guide Pro and Naviplan and all these companies come about. And all of a sudden, a lot of the work is automated. And it's not like a paraplanner's out of work. They're just become the experts, the users of the platform, and they can allocate their attention to higher value, more bespoke work rather than, we'll say, more of the factory kind of below the line things that was taking up a lot of their time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like to use the analogy of the shoemaker. In the past, a shoemaker would make one shoe. It would be a beautiful shoe, but it would make one shoe a week or every 2 days, right? Now you have specialized agents. All that agent does is read estate planning documents. All that agent does is enriching the documents with insight and observations and looking to all the legal law changes that happened recently. So now you're able to still make the same high quality shoe, but just at a higher volume. And you have a lot of dedicated workers doing one thing and doing one thing extremely well. So my goal is to empower the shoemaker. My goal is to empower the advisor. And with 1,000 analysts, 1,000 paraplanners, just making my job more efficient.
I love it. You fit in Esther a good bit. It seems fairly clear what Esther's doing. Sounds like an amazing value add. Just given the pace of AI innovation, and I don't think anyone knows where it's going, but what are you most excited about Esther being able to do either now or in the future? And kind of what's the vision? If you can project out a year, which seems like an eternity in AI time, what's on the dream board for what Esther is going to be able to do for your wealth.com clients?
As a technologist, I love this question. I see AI in 3 distinct phases. You had the first phase of Esther in 2022, 2023 when we launched, which was summaries. It was amazing summarizing data, right? Some of these clients, Louis, think about these. Some of these clients, they have 13 documents in place. They have every type of irrevocable trust you can imagine, plus a revocable trust in place. They have very complicated assets, very complex assets, right? So Esther was amazing in summarizing. That was phase number 1. Phase number 2 is now be able to augment, right? You read the data, you see an opportunity, and you create a task that's right there in front of the advisor saying, hey, I think you should reach out to this client and include this report with some of these observations. Click this button if you agree. You still involve the advisor. The human is still in the loop. And that's what we are with Esther right now, right? We do that. We assess the data. We see the opportunity. We involve the advisor. Advisor get involved and say, yes, let's do this. And click a button. An email is triggered. A report is attached. Here we go. The third phase, and that's coming next and very soon, is now you have a agent acting on the behalf of the advisor. I still want to make sure, and I want to make this very clear, I don't want to get myself in trouble. The advisor is always involved, but you have all these specific agents. That's the tax planning agent. That's the estate planning agent. Work independently, connected to the world, extremely well trained with thousands and thousands of documents that we've seen over the years, finding opportunities, creating the tasks, creating the emails, creating the report, having everything ready to go, just waiting for the advisor to say, do it. And we do this enough to the point where the advisor is going to say, all right, you don't need my permission anymore to do this specific task. Go, right? You connect to the IRS, you download the tax transcript, you crunch to this data, you create a report, and it's ready to go. The other thing too is I want to be able, my goal in the next year, a year and a half, is I want continuous estate planning. Up to this point, estate planning has been exactly like you described. You go to a lawyer, you pay thousands and thousands of dollars, and those documents start collecting dust in a shelf somewhere while you live your life. And being from this space, that's not how it works, right? There is new legislation being passed, OBBA, right? It became like you cross tax threshold, you have liquidity events, you get married, you get divorced, you buy real estate property, so on and so forth. And that document is already stale. Why does it have to be that way? Now with AI, now with the technology we have in place, it won't be. I promise you.
Very cool. That's exciting. That sounds like the perfect evolution of AI from summary, just here's something you can read quickly, to suggesting action to then taking action. It does seem like the flow that it's been. And I'm sure there's 15 other flows from here that we don't even know yet. Or you probably do because you're in this. But for me, I can't even imagine what phase 4 and 5 are going to look like for you.
Yes, it's exciting.
Definitely is. I saw when I was doing some research for this that wealth.com announced a fairly major strategic partnership with Dynasty Financial Partners, embedding Esther into their Dynasty desktop. What do you think this partnership says about where the business is going, and how do you expect advisors to really take advantage of this in practice?
It was a new development. We're super excited about the Dynasty Financial Partnership. If you look at before this partnership, we would have to empower advisor one by one with a wealth.com license. With this partnership with Dynasty, every advisor in the Dynasty family or using the Dynasty desktop is going to be able to use Esther, right? So they're going to be furnished with an AI intelligence that they can ask any estate planning questions. They can get tax planning questions answered. They're going to be able to upload their clients' estate planning documents and get a summary of everything that's in summary with opportunities, with everything that they can do for those estate planning documents. I think it fits perfectly well for enterprise IRAs, wirehouses, right? This solution. Instead of doing one by one, you can actually have AI for all your advisors at once, answering their most basic questions and taking actions. That's literally like the agents I was trying to describe. So that's just the first step in that direction, right? And yeah, we're super excited about these.
Very cool. Let me ask you another one. So you said earlier that as investment management becomes more commoditized, that advisors not only have to offer more services and provide more value, but they also have to differentiate from the advisor, the firm across the street, to provide more family office services, if you will. But let's say, and this will be great for you, wealth.com becomes like air that everyone's breathing. It almost becomes like financial planning tool, e-money, right? It's commonplace. Now it's commoditized across the space. It's not a differentiator anymore to offer financial planning. As wealth.com expands, more firms work with the platform. What do you think is the next layer, next level of differentiation that your clients then can point to? If it's no longer, maybe a couple of years from now, that we use wealth.com, that we help with estate planning.
Wow, that's an interesting one. And approach my wife and bring ideas and suggestions. For me, if I can make that happen, where the financial advisor is helping with my taxes, right? So when it's tax time, we just have to have a 1-hour meeting and we're ready to click a button and have everything done. That can help me with bill pay. And think about like high net worth and ultra high net worth people, where it becomes extremely complicated to do bill pay properly, right? Because you have to pay from the right account, from the right trust, right? If they can take this off my plate so I can focus 100% in my business and my family, it's mission accomplished. If that means that they're going to walk my dog to make this happen, I know I'm exaggerating here, but pick up my laundry, like the example you use, I think you're going to have to do this. That, in my mind, is how this financial advisor survived the AI revolution. It is that personal relationship. It's knowing me well. It's spending more time with me than once a quarter. And with AI, with the right AI, and I know AI, there's a lot of smoke in this space and very little fire, right? But with the right agents, with the right workflows, one advisor is going to be able to serve more than 100 clients. Because right now the ratio is 100 clients per advisor. Maybe you're going to be able to serve like 200, 250 well, serve them well, knowing them well, knowing them personally. I think that's going to happen in the next couple of years.
I think that's right. It's more so like the intangibles that an advisor has. Their secret sauce isn't going to be necessarily, we offer these 7 things. It's going to be, I really get you. I understand you. It's the advisor's personal relationship and empathy with that client and all the years that they've known them. And then it's just using all these different tools to aid that relationship. It kind of sounds like that's what you're saying. It's all the other stuff that advisors do that might be different today. Over time, people catch up and that becomes commoditized, similar to we offer financial planning and that's a differentiator. Now it's you don't offer financial planning, it's a problem.
Yeah, 100%. You got it. Yes, it is the intangibles. That's perfect.
Okay, I got two more questions for you. What's one thing you wish more advisors understood about estate planning that they still miss today?
I think there is an education component. Just deploying wealth.com and expecting it's going to work with your clients, it's not like that, right? You need to be willing to have the conversation. Like your advisor did with you, right? You need to have the tough call and say, hey, are you ready? Do you have estate plan in place? Why not? And then having that conversation, right?
And I would imagine too, it's also cool. I got all these documents. So instead of it getting locked in the safe or locked in the drawer, it's also incumbent on the advisor to explain the documents. Hey, these are there's a bunch of stuff in here that whatever, we don't have to get into, but here's the 4 key things about this document that you should understand. The power of attorney we've nominated as your father-in-law. Your proceeds are going to get distributed 1/3 to your son, 1/4 to your daughter, et cetera. It's going to be those things and translating the documents into real words that clients are going to understand.
100%. That is critical because I'm a software engineer. I'm not equipped to be reading like 100 pages document and trying to understand everything that's there, right? Now with AI, you can actually ask Claude to summarize and Gemini to summarize it, but that was not the case 3 years ago. So
Right.
that education component is critical. And some of my advisors are actually very successful, I should say. A smaller firm in this case. I'm not going to say the names. I don't know. I don't have that permission to say the name, but they are actually using they're doing like these estate planning webinars as a
Hmm.
lead generation, right? So they
Very
attract
smart.
clients because clients are curious about
Yep.
this. You know what I mean? Sometimes if you don't ask them, you're never going to know, but they're probably very curious about estate plan. They're probably very concerned they don't
Yep.
have the documents in place. Even the ones that have the documents, they're probably concerned that they need an update and they haven't done it. So by doing this webinar, they feel more comfortable just going to the event. They know they're not going to be the center of attention and then asking a question or hear
Yep.
people asking questions. So some of my most successful clients are actually using webinar as a lead generation and to explain estate planning.
It's a great idea. Yeah. It's like you're empowering the advisor to talk more about estate planning. It's no longer this bugaboo that was like too complex or not in their swim lane. It's empowering them to lead with it, it sounds like.
100%.
Amazing. And last question. If you were an ambitious advisor building a new firm from scratch today, what would you tell them to focus on to create a more durable, harder to replicate, kind of future proof business?
That's a great question because the factory floor of 100 years ago is no longer work. If you have a chance to start from the beginning, it's a new world. It's a new world for companies like ours. Even for companies like ours that are in the bleeding edge of technology, everything is changing with AI. How I organize my teams is changing with AI, right? So I would say select wealth.com. No, that's
Obviously.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding, but yes, I'll say select the right tools, use AI properly. It's no longer a headcount game. I'm not saying you're not going to need help. You're going to need help, but make sure the tools are talking to each other because it is a new age. It's an age about speed, about being able to offer more service quicker, about increasing the relationship, the intangibles to your point. It's no longer once a quarter call to your clients, right? So if I had a chance to do everything again, if I had a chance even to start wealth.com again, it's different how you organize your team in this age of AI. AI is going to be bigger than the industrial revolution. Trust me, the shock wave is huge. To your point early in this call, we're getting a big jump every month. It's no longer every year. Every month, there is something new coming from AI. So if you start your firm again, select the right partners, select the right tools, and then hit the ground running.
Perfect. It's amazing. Rafael, this has been so fun. I learned a ton from you. You just have a way of storytelling, and I absolutely love the why behind wealth.com, the personal experience that probably a lot of listeners have had as the light bulb moment. And instead of just complaining about it, you actually took action and now are creating the future of estate planning, empowering advisors to offer estate planning to their clients, getting more folks in this country set up with trusts and estates and wills, et cetera. So I think it's amazing what you're doing, and I'm very excited to continue to watch your success.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunities. And just to do a final plug, estate planning, tax planning, stay tuned. There's more coming.
There we go. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
As a financial advisor, you hold yourself to the highest standards of integrity, honesty, and credibility. You are successful because you take your professional responsibility seriously and are dedicated to your clients. But are you living your best business life? Are your goals aligned with your firm's, or could a better option exist? Should I Stay or Should I Go is a book written with you in mind. It's a self-guided journey that walks you through the key steps that we take with our advisor clients. This strategic thought process and roadmap to professional self-discovery is designed to help you ask the right questions and think critically and objectively, whether you're considering change or not. Learn how to get your copy at diamond-consultants.com/thebook.